All right, I think we're ready to start. Everybody can hear okay with the speakers out there? You're good? Fantastic. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate the turnout. My name is Steve Owens. I'm with a company called AI Solutions out at the Kennedy Space Center, but I'm here today to represent LEAD Brevard organization and our project for Leadership Brevard 2015 class that we partnered with Career Source Brevard and the Airmen and Military Families Unit to bring you this event today. So we certainly appreciate you being here. LEAD Brevard is an organization here in the county that's been in existence for more than 30 years. What they do each year is they bring about 50 leaders from different companies, different organizations together. We go through almost a year together. And one of the things that we do is try to bring leadership into county organizations, into county nonprofits. We try to work with people around the county to bring events to people, and also just to stimulate leadership so that people are leaders throughout the organizations, companies, are giving back to our community. So that's kind of what Leadership Brevard is all about. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and partner, and we appreciate the opportunity to have the panelists here with us today. Moderating our event today, some of you may know, is Sergeant Michael Lindley out of AFTEC. He's agreed to be our moderator, and very shortly he's going to be a civilian because he retires on Friday. So Michael, thanks for being here. Thursday.
So again, I'm Mike Lindley. Thank you so much for showing up and registering, coming to the Leadership Brevard 101, Employment 101 class. Again, I'm Mike Lindley. I'm the first sergeant for AFTAC. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview of how it's going to go today. So I need you to keep in mind that this is intended to be an educational opportunity about important topics to consider when seeking, applying for, and interviewing for jobs. So we did not intend this to be a job fair. We will have the panelists introduce themselves and talk about their companies and industries. We will ask the panelists some specific questions about employment, interviewing skills, military programs, applications, and the hiring process. And finally, we're going to ask the questions from the audience that we received during your registration. So you are free to get up and use the restroom whenever you need because we did not schedule in that break. And so without any further ado, I'm going to say the names of the audience here, or not the audience, I'm sorry, the folks here and the panelists. CARMEN SERRANO, and she's from BRIGHTHOUSE Networks. Kathy DILLON, she's from WUESTHOFF. Doug FREUND, the senior manager and project engineer from the Fleet Ballistic Missile Program, Lockheed Martin. Wow, that's big. Jim DUBEA, he's the executive director of Government and Strategic Partnerships, Canaveral Port Authority. Here's one. Sheriff Wayne IVEY. He's the biggest Dallas fan and FSU fan in the county, and he's from our local sheriff's office. And Heidi Taylor, the district HR manager from Home Depot. All right. So now I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce their industry and talk about themselves. Yes.
Let me just clarify, first of all, I am not a Dallas fan. I could be if the situation was right, but I am never going to be an FSU fan, so let me go ahead and straighten that out. First of all, let me thank you for giving me the honor to serve as your sheriff. I absolutely love this job to death. It's the funnest thing I've ever done in my life, and I truly can't believe I get to do it every day. I'm surrounded by almost 1,500 incredible members of our agency. Some of them are here with us today, taking part in this presentation, but the Brevard County Sheriff's Office services all of the unincorporated areas of Brevard County, and we work very, very well with our local state partners, our federal partners, all of them together, and I will tell you that we have had great success in the past 2 years in lowering our crime rate. In fact, in 2013, we lowered the crime rate by 7.3%, and we're going to be rolling out our new numbers here, but I'll go ahead and tell this group. In 2014, we lowered the crime rate by another 10.6%. So almost a 20% reduction in the past 2 years, which is pretty profound. And it's a direct credit of the public safety officers in Brevard County. So thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Hello, friend. It's a pleasure to be here for BRIGHTHOUSE Networks. And our company is, we are privately owned. And we are managed and operated by Advanced Newhouse Partnership, which is a major publishing company based out of Syracuse, New York. We serve over 2.4 million customers. We're very predominant here in the Central Florida area, and you know, it's a pleasure to, of course, serve our customers and be there for our customers for the cable services that we provide. We provide the cable, internet, home entertainment. So we're very predominant in the community, and again, it's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, I'm Doug Freund with Lockheed Martin, aerospace and defense contractor. Of course, all you probably are aware of the products from the F-35 to C-130 to the Navy's littoral combat ship. My role as I work on with a mouthful, the Fleet Ballistic Missile Program, but that means that we actually manufacture, produce the missile with the nuclear warhead on the end that we serve up and manage all the way up until we put it on the boat for the Navy sailors. So that's what we do. Part of that is done here with test equipment, test support out of Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. We've got about 500 folks here that oversee that program. So it's a joy to be here, and appreciate you all welcoming me. Thanks.
Hi, good morning. Jim DUBEA with Canaveral Port Authority. Spent a little over 22 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. So I climbed over the fence and started working with Canaveral Port Authority about 2 years ago. Canaveral Port Authority, it's one of 15 deepwater ports in the state of Florida. There's actually 15 ports. Out of those 15, there's about 7 or 8 that are actually real economic engines for their communities. We do about $3.5 billion a year in economic opportunity. Or economic impact. We have about 210 employees, Canaveral Port employees, at the port. We're number 2 in the world. I'll say that again, number 2 in the world in cruise passenger volume. We're going to be number 1 in the next 3 years, just based on the reservations we have on hand right now. Cruise companies book way far out in advance. We're going to be close to 8 million passengers a year. With that, we're doing a pretty significant infrastructure upgrade and getting ready to use the port more for cargo. Not too many people realize that we've got about 80 million people that visit Central Florida, and we're a 40-minute drive to that Central Florida market. Right now, products are going right by the state. They go up into Virginia or Georgia, and they're trucked back down into the Central Florida market. Right now, there's things that are being trucked into Miami. They go up I-95 into Georgia or into Jacksonville and get on a rail and go back down a rail into Orlando. So I tell you this because that's kind of the model that the port is looking to shift. So a lot of opportunities, and the reason we're doing it is really to increase that economic impact for this region, create more jobs, have a successful Central Florida.
Well, good afternoon, and first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to come and attend. The military is definitely near and dear to my heart. Grew up military brat. My father, 22 years in the Army. Yeah. And then married a military man who did a combined 33 years in the Army as well. So military spouse, so I know exactly where you guys are standing at this point. I work for the Home Depot. As you know, Home Depot has 2,400 stores throughout the United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, you name it, we have a Home Depot there. A total of 400,000 employees. I am the District Human Resource Manager, and I cover 4 counties, Brevard, Indian River, St. Lucie, and Okeechobee. So about a total of 1,500 associates. So I'm glad to be here, and thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here today. My name is Kathy Dillon, and I am one of the HR managers at WUESTHOFF Health System. WUESTHOFF Health System is made up of 2 hospitals, diagnostic, we have a reference lab, we have physicians, we have inpatient and outpatient hospice services. The Rockledge facility is a 298-bed full-service acute care hospital. Melbourne is made up of 115 beds. Same thing, full service acute care hospital. We're real excited to be here today, and I hope that we are able to help you for all the help that you have given us over the years, and thank you so much for your service.
All right, thank you, panelists. We really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come talk to us. So without any further ado, I'm going to start asking questions directly to a panelist member, and we'll have 2 to 3 minutes to finish those questions. So the first question is from Bright House Networks. Yay. And it's not about bills. It's not about... So would you please describe your company's culture?
Yes, love to. Bright House is all about a culture of care. And in that, what I mean is true to our campaign that we advertise, the Hello Friend. That is truly how we treat our customers, our employees, and our community. Bright House is very much involved in the community. We attend many events, and we also apply it to our employees, where they're able to also participate in many of the events within the community. So we're very true and dear to that, and how we treat our employees and our customers at our Bright House Network. So that is our main branding, of being all part of a culture of care.
Awesome, thank you. Any other panelists like to hit that? All right. Thank you. The next question is for Lockheed Martin. In your industry, what type of hard skills, technical skills, educational certifications, etc., are in demand?
Great. What we do have in demand right now is, of course, Lockheed Martin is heavy with engineering, but that's not the only thing that we have in demand. Not a lot of folks know this, but from a Lockheed Martin perspective, we have sometimes, if not the most, equal to software programmers, more so than Microsoft at times. It bounces back and forth, but so what we do have right now in demand is heavy engineering, mechanical, electrical, software systems engineers. Then from the business side, we can always use finance and accounting help, and we look for that talent. And then down on the technician side, what's in demand currently from aircraft mechanics with airframe, power plant type experience, or from what the military brings to that as well. And then electronic technicians. From the electronic techs that we bring in today, the electronic techs, we do require those folks that apply once they're brought in to pass an exam. So that's what we currently see. Beyond these skills, the other demanding skills, we have a lot of project engineers for driving projects and driving those products out to the warfighters.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, WUESTHOFF Health System. What are the personal qualities, soft skills, personality traits, etc., of your desired candidates?
Okay, soft skills to me are the personal qualities, habits, and the attitudes of a person. When you come for an interview for a particular job, you're required to have possibly a certain maybe licensure or some kind of skill that you bring with you that is necessary to complete the job. But in addition to that, we are looking for you as a person, what your attitudes are, what your habits are, and how you handle certain situations. Positive attitude is one I have, upbeat, optimistic. Positivity is very contagious. I think, as you well know, if you're around someone who's positive and exudes that positivity, it's a very good thing. So that's something we look for. Strong work ethic, very important in all of these positions. Being dedicated and motivated, knowing that your job is important, and having that show up on time attitude and giving it all every single time is extremely important. Good communication skills, articulating, and not only articulating, but being a good listener, something I work on every day. But it's very important that you also listen to your associates and listen when you're on an interview, when they ask you a question, so you're answering the question appropriately for the candidate. Also, time management skills is another thing. Prioritizing, being able to multitask. Leadership is another soft skill that we look for. The ability to lead a group or take charge is extremely important. Being a team player. You all know, I'm sure, being in the service is very important. These are some of the things that you can bring to a job interview. You may not have experience in that particular job, but you'll be able to do it with what you've experienced as being in the armed forces and knowing how to work as a team, knowing how to be a good leader, and knowing how to get the job done. So those are very, very important things that we look for when we are interviewing candidates. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If I can just weigh in on that a little bit. One of the things that a lot of people forget is when you're coming for an interview, it's the one time in your life that you really have to sit at the table and brag about yourself. You have to share with everyone the experiences you've had in your life. And you heard her talk about leadership and team. A lot of times we forget that it's not just in the workplace that those skill sets apply. Maybe you were part of the football team or the wrestling team. Maybe you were the captain on the team. Whatever that may be, it's important to share with the panel that you have that skill set, that if nothing else, you have the understanding of the importance and the value of that skill set. The other thing for me that you very rarely see is a lot of people will list out all of their skills. They'll list out effective communicator. In fact, you could almost pick up and think you're reading a book. Effective communicator, visionary, you can go on and on. The one thing that people leave out, and I actually put it on my resume for the first time I was trying to get promoted to FDLE, and everybody shook their head, I have common sense, and that's an overlooked trait. And hopefully they look at it and they ask, why did you tell us you have common sense? And the answer is because I have common sense. I know that's what is most important in what we do every day in our lives, being able to look past those things. So don't leave those little nuances out, if you will. Make sure that you're sharing them. When you're on that interview, it is the one time that you sit at the table and you have to brag on yourself. You do it obviously with character, and you're not sitting there going, well, I've done this and I've done that. But you're basically selling your resume at that point. I really think it's important for people to understand that when they come in on those interviews.
Awesome.
Hey, if I could follow on with that, just a quick story, and then I'll make a comment. But on the common sense aspect, right after I got out of the Coast Guard, I went to work with an aerospace company. Very heavy engineering aspect. We all have that saying, "Oh, he's an engineer," So. So this particular engineer was working late one night. We had a cipher lock that got you in and out of the building. Well, he couldn't remember the code, so he disassembled the cipher lock and the door, and then he couldn't figure out how to put it back together. And this turned into about a $13,000 expenditure we had to make, because it wasn't like you just put a door back up there, and there was some classified material in there, all this. But that's where the common sense comes in, I think, Wayne. And it's just one of those things where you really don't think about it, but it's out there, people. That those kind of things really do happen with things like that. So common sense is very important. Another aspect I'd like to add on is there's a difference between I and we. So when you're sitting down at an interview table, like guys, I've gotten very, very astute at recognizing the I people. And a lot of people in the military, you know who they are. People who take credit for everything. I'm sure there's an airman running around taking responsibility for Afghanistan right now. But really be able to hone in on that. There's some things that you do really well, but there's things that when you need to make sure you understand those lines, that you've worked with a team and we accomplished this. Because I think a lot of interviewers do pick up on that. And that is something that goes along with teamwork.
Excellent, thank you. I thought I was doing a pretty good job in Afghanistan. So. All right, so I have a quick announcement. There are cards that can be used to write questions. So right in front of you on your table, there are cards. And so flag down one of the guys from Brevard, and they'll collect the cards as you're thinking about these questions. So. Thank y'all for the stories, good stories. Sheriff. All right, this kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier, but please tell us about your current application and hiring process to include special programs targeted toward the military community.
Absolutely. Like most hiring process today, ours can start online. We have our online process that not only tells you the jobs that we currently have available, but gets you to your first entry application. And I'm going to take a brief second and introduce to you Corporal Leon Maddox, who's in the back of the room. Leon, if you'll stand up back there. Leon is one of our primary recruiters out of our agency. We also like Leon because he shows that we hire seniors as well, as you can see the gray hair that he has. But Essentially, once you submit your first round of paperwork, and I say first round because it is a multi-pronged process that you go through, but once you submit that puts our recruiters and our career development team in line with starting to look for job placement. And, one of the things that people don't realize when they look at the sheriff's office, most of the times people associate being in a star car, one of our deputies' cars, with the sheriff's office. There are so many more different career opportunities within the sheriff's office. And I tell people it ranges from anything from being a sworn deputy sheriff to a corrections officer to a certified telecommunicator that works in our dispatch center to payroll to IT to animal services to port security. The sheriff's office has a very broad brush of career opportunities that we have. And a lot of times we have people within our agency that have been, for example, a deputy and say, I want to go work in the IT department. That's the real true thing that I want to move into. And so there's a very broad aspect of job opportunities there. We try and make sure, in fact, our career development team does a great job with this. We try and make sure that we put emphasis on making sure that the person that's applying for that job truly knows every aspect of it, truly knows what all it involves. Because the last thing we want is someone to go through, for example, the Criminal Justice Academy, get out, and 2 days later realize that they don't really want to be a deputy sheriff, that maybe they were better suited for another aspect in there. And believe it or not, we have that. We just had an individual that went through 7 months of law enforcement academy. Day 2 on the job, walked in and said, this isn't what I thought it would be. And we were fortunate to find that person another place to have a career within our agency. But we want to make sure that we're matching the career to the person and the person to the career. We do a lot of different aspects of bringing you out, letting you see what the job's actually like. So, for example, if you're going to want to work in the field of corrections, Leon's going to take you on a tour of the facility, let you talk with some of the other members there so that you are getting a true feel and true representation of what it's like. All of our sworn positions on the corrections and law enforcement side require you to pass a physical agility test. That test is a series of different obstacles and things you have to think through, some running. You have to do it in 3 minutes, 59 seconds, right, Leon? I actually hold the record for the agency. What was it, like 2:17, Leon? 2:17, I did it. Actually, no, I did not. But we have our team when they're coming in at entry level. They go through that. A lot of them are coming straight out of academy, so they're already in good shape. But we are working currently on a fitness program that will actually be long-term for our individuals. We look at the aspect of not just being fit for duty, but I'm looking at that the last mortality study that was done in the field of criminal justice showed that the average age of death for law enforcement officers was 57 years old. So we want to work to push that. On the military side, we are fast working with our military to try and bring them on board with us. They've already served their country. Now they want to serve their citizens. And I'm very proud to tell you that we were just recognized by Military Times Magazine as one of the top 20 agencies in the country for how we treat our veterans and how we recruit. So just
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Anyone else address that? All right, Home Depot. What do you see as the common pitfall for applicants and interviewees?
Wow, there are so many. Let's start with just the beginning, just filling out an application. As you all know, most of the applications are now conducted online. So there's a point and a reason behind everything they ask you. So oftentimes there will be an assessment. It looks pretty simple, sounds pretty simple. However, there's so many people that just click right through it. Normally, it's either a pass or a fail. So if you're not taking the time to read the assessment and answering correctly, you've just wasted your time. So make sure if there's an assessment there, you actually take the time to read it and complete it to the best of your abilities. The second thing would be is when you're filling out your application and even your resume, making sure that you put all the information down. Quite often we get a name, a phone number, maybe an address, and that's it. No work history, no school history, nothing, just a blank application. So make sure you take the time to fill out all the information, your work history, whatever you have. The more information, the better. Phone screening. So a lot of organizations now, before you ever called in for a interview, they do a phone screening. So what do you have on your cell phone or your home phone? You know, what type of music, what type of jokes, you know, that are we going to hear when we call up? You'd be surprised what we hear. And that makes us think, oh, is this really a person we want working for the organization? So make sure you have something that's, how should I say, appropriate for when you have an employer calling your phone number. Also, the demeanor when you're answering your phone. Is it, yeah, I hear that often. Well, you know, this is the Home Depot. We're calling to see if you're still interested in employment. I guess so. Just the type of person I want working for me. So make sure you're enthusiastic, you portray yourself. Quite often they will ask you questions, basic questions. Be able to answer them. If it's not a good opportunity, just say, hey, can you call me back? You know, maybe you're driving, maybe you're out shopping, maybe you're at dinner, and they will call you back. But make sure, you know, you take the time to actually answer, because this is your ticket to the interview. If you don't pass the phone screening, we're weeding out people, so make sure you take the time for that. When you are finally selected to come in for an interview, you want to arrive a few minutes early, 10, 15 minutes early, not late. Not call in and say, hey, I'm running behind, can I reschedule? That's usually not good. I mean, we understand one-time rescheduling, but 3-4 times rescheduling, that's not a good sign. Also, you know, when you're coming in, you're being viewed pretty much from the time you're walking through the door. How polite are you to the associates or employees that are working there? What is your demeanor? We will definitely hear about it after you leave, you know, how you're interacting with them. We'll even hear it from the customers quite often. Dress to impress. You always want to dress at least one grade up for what you're applying for. We're not, like at the Home Depot, we're not expecting you to come in with a suit on. However, we don't expect flip-flops and a t-shirt and even bikini tops to come. So depending again on the atmosphere, you definitely want to dress appropriately. Have a little bit of research about the company. Know what you're applying for. Also prepare for your interview questions. If you're applying for Lockheed Martin, you're probably going to be looking at something else rather than the Home Depot. You want to know about sales, customer service, and so forth. So research the position you're looking for. And interview, stay focused. Be prepared, you know, what type of questions are they going to ask you? I'm sure, you know, you realize if you come to the Home Depot looking for a sales position, we're going to ask you about sales experience. There might be times you've never sold anything, but say, well, if I was in that situation, this is what I would do. So have ideas already planned on what you're going to respond. Don't exaggerate about what you can do or what you've done. We can read through it. I've interviewed hundreds, thousands of people. I know right off the bat. I'm sure each one sitting on this panel that has interviewed can tell you that. And then thank the employee for the interview. And there's nothing wrong with following up. No matter which organization you're applying for, always make sure you follow up. You're one of many, sometimes one of the hundreds of people we're interviewing, and it's always nice to have someone follow up just as a reminder, because sometimes even your interviews get lost in the shuffle. So those are some of the things I would definitely recommend for you.
Awesome, thank you.
Hey, if I could follow up real quick. You know, it really starts, especially for military men and women, it starts a long time before you actually get out. It's a long process. The uniform and civilian clothing issue was the biggest issue for me. I can tell you, I wore blue for 23 years. And then, you know, realizing there's other colors of the spectrum other than that was, it took a little while. But that is really an important thing for the military folks to really kind of wrap their head around. Also, you really shouldn't have this problem, but your email addresses and your handles on Twitter and all that kind of stuff, those are big deals. They're all out there and for everyone to see. And even how you act online represents who you are. And employers are looking at that. I know, well, the CANAVERAL, we don't purposely go out and do that, but there's enough people that work around that you know, we'll be able to say, hey, look what they posted here. You know, that's, so, you know, we're trying to teach that to our kids, but you'd be surprised how many adults do some pretty silly things. You know, like there's nothing good that happens after midnight. Same thing goes with texting and Facebook posts. So, so that's a big issue as well. And the interview process, like she was saying, we can tell whenever you didn't write your resume. When you had someone craft your resume or someone else do your resume, we can usually tell within the first 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, of whether or not this person actually wrote this resume, or whether he farmed it out or she farmed it out to someone to have it done professionally. So really take some time, read the books. It doesn't take a lot. Everything they teach you in TAPS class, guys, it's just absorb it all. I know it's like you're being fed with a fire hose, but absorb it all and really do spend some time on your resume, your outward appearance, and just really kind of who you are as a core, and just emanate that core personality, and I think you'll all do fine.
Yes, Chef.
Just kind of echo what Jim was saying. Really comes down to a lot of it is how you present yourself. You heard both of them talk about dress, and I personally don't think you can ever overdress for anything. I think if you're coming for an interview and you're wearing a tie or you're wearing a very nice business suit, whatever it is that you have on that makes it pop, it's part of that presentation of you. It's part of what you stand for. And we see with a lot of our military candidates, we don't have to worry about that because you've been conditioned to that throughout. You have that demeanor. But we see other people that come in and they're wearing flip-flops and a pair of shorts and coming in wanting to be a deputy sheriff or a member of our agency. So it's really, when you get to that point, your hygiene, everything else stands out. And really, when you're going on that interview, you not only want to make them pick you, but you don't want to give them a reason to not pick you either. That's part of it. Jim talked about social media. He said that they don't really go out and look at it. I'm going to tell you, we do. Leon Maddox not only recruits, but he investigates. And you're going to go through a very in-depth process with us. We're going to look at your Facebook. If every picture of you on Facebook is you standing there with a bottle of alcohol in your hand, we're probably going to have some issues. We're probably not going to want to jump in that. We look at driving history. Believe it or not, we lose a lot of candidates because of driving history, because now they're asking us to hire them and put them behind the wheel of a car that if they get in an automobile accident, we have now civilly liable for. We had one candidate not long ago, was an incredible candidate on paper, certifications, everything else, had 72 traffic citations. Now, in fairness, only 68 of them were for driving, the rest were boating. But we have to look at that. I mean, that's an individual that it takes a while for that to go away, to get far enough away from it. So keep all of those things in mind as you're going in. Honesty and integrity. Put everything on your application. I know one of the things we see is they'll leave that gap, and immediately it draws attention to Leon or his team going, why'd they leave that out? Was it intentional? Was it unintentional? Either way, it draws attention to it. We just want to know that you're a person of integrity, that you're a person who understands the importance of honesty, and everything else we can pretty much deal with in that regard. And then the last thing I would say is understand the importance of customer service. Customer service is not just dealing with the public. It is dealing with your own people inside, your co-workers, the other units, everything else. So those are all vital to it when it comes down.
Awesome. Thank y'all. Great information. All right, Port Canaveral. And I know you went into this a little bit in your introduction, but if you could tell us, what do you see as the long-term outlook for your industry in our area and our future growth in our employment base, or how's that going to look over the next few years?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think this region is really primed right now for a lot of different reasons, and we say it a lot. We're spending a lot of time with the Central Florida market. I spent a lot of time in Tallahassee, a lot of time in D.C. There's a lot of focus on this region. Let me tell you why. A lot of them are right here on this panel. Lockheed Martin, the Space Coast, the Air Force, and your mission, and how that's the commercialization of space. That's a big deal. We kind of joke about it in some of the regions that we're at, but we're pretty much the only place where you'll be able to take a flight into Orlando, take a bus or a train here, go out on a cruise ship, come back, jump on a spaceship, and go on a trip to space. I mean, that's what's coming to this region. There's not too many other regions that have that in the world. So that's kind of what's coming. So along with that, there's 70 million or 80 million people that visit. We just became the third most populous state in the region. If you were to take Central Florida as an economic engine and compare it to the world, we're number 18 in the world. Okay, so when you take all that into perspective, there's a lot of mouths that need to be fed. There's a lot of industries that need to be represented, and there's a lot of employment to be had. And with that, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built. There's a lot of everything whenever you start pouring that all together into one optimistic look ahead. So I think the region is going to be very well here in the future. Now, there's some growth that has to happen, and we're at the tippy end of that spear there, trying to make some of these growth initiatives happen. And it's hard to get the region to accept that. But I think with the port, with the aerospace industry, with the commercialization of space, with the tourism of Florida, I mean, there's a pretty bright future in Central Florida.
Excellent, thank you. Anyone else? All right.
And with that, you're going to have to build homes, so Home Depot.
Awesome, thank y'all very much. So that concludes our canned questions for y'all. So now the tough ones come from the audience. And so if you're in the audience and you have questions, please raise your hand. But I also have some questions here to ask that were during the registration. So, not sure who wants to take this one. But what is the normal time from application to interview to negotiations to start date? Anyone? Yes, sir. Lockheed.
So we have a window about the 30 to 60 days to get on board, and why that wide window is mainly due to the fact that we talked about a couple things here about interviewing techniques and putting critical things on your resume. But once we bring you in as an external applicant, then that 30 to 60 window could take place, and it's based upon your background checks. And so one of the common things we do find a lot of times is most of you have some type of clearance. Put it on the resume. It really goes a long way until that background check starts occurring to go for a particular clearance, and then we find out you had it. But so there's time savers. But typically, we see our process anywhere from 30 to 60 days.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, sure.
Yeah, ours is, if everything's clicking just right, to go through not only the application, the secondary application, which is much more detailed, to go through the physical assessment test, the polygraph, and then the background aspect of it. We're looking at about 45 days. A lot of times we may get slowed up if we have to do an out-of-state interview, because we actually go talk to your neighbors, everything else. And so we may have to rely on another agency to go do that interview for us. But we try and bring it in for about a 45-day window is what the team works on.
Excellent. Thank you all. Anyone else?
I just wanted to touch base on the healthcare, which is a little bit different. Ours can run anywhere from 2 weeks, which is a quick process turnaround, to about 30 days, depending what position. If you apply for a very popular position, we get a lot of resumes, applications, the managers need to go through that. But once that candidate is interviewed and chosen, it's usually about a 2 week from beginning to end that you come in and see us to process the application and to attend our orientation. So it really just depends on the actual position, but be patient and we'll get to you. Thank you.
So with the port, it's a little different because we're a subdivision of the state of Florida, so we're actually state employees. So we have to follow sunshine rules, and there's pros and cons to that. So every hire we make, we want to make sure that they're the right fit, because just like the military, it's very difficult to transition people out, or I don't want to say fire them, but you're no longer part of the port. Basically, it's very difficult for us to do that because there's more laws and rules to keep them than it is to get rid of them whenever they're doing something wrong. So we spend a lot of time. The initial interview, depending, sometimes we Skype with them once or twice. If you live in a separate state or something, we'll actually do a Skype interview, an online interview. Then we'll move on to an actual personal interview with your first line manager, second line manager. Sometimes there may be 3 or 4 interviews, and then we'll actually schedule some social times with you. We'll actually take you to lunch, meet with some of the executive management team, and actually, I'm sorry, Wayne, I'll take you to lunch. No.
When we took over Port Security, you didn't take me to lunch.
So, and the reason I go back to this is we're really trying to find out who our candidates are at their core. The interview process can be can be daunting with us. But with us, it's usually, I mean, there's been some guys that's taken, and people that's taken up to 3 months once to get in. Then once you get in, then you have to do all the state paperwork, which also takes a long time as well. So it varies with each industry. Just, keep your head down and trudge through it.
Here with Bright House, it's pretty much along the same. As far as like our positions, it varies on the level of the position. But for example, for like our customer care is a more entry level position, it can take up to 30 days for the complete process. That's including for the start from the application to the pre-screening assessments, and then inviting you to what we call our general information session, and we give you a presentation to outline what our company is about, our culture, our benefits with the company, and then conducting the background screen, which can take anywhere, again, from 1 to 2 weeks. In some cases, it can be longer depending on how far, where you've lived in the United States. So the process, again, typically for entry level is about 30 days, and our other special skill set positions can take a little bit longer, anywhere from 60 to 90 days.
Awesome, thank you. All right, another one for anyone who's interested. How do employers use LinkedIn to find candidates?
Well, I could say at Bright House that all of our recruiters in the talent acquisition team are definitely involved in LinkedIn, and they do many active recruiting through the LinkedIn portal. We try to post a lot of our positions in the LinkedIn system and try to connect, of course, with other recruiters, other companies, and partner with other communities that we can get more of our candidates from. So we're definitely very involved in the LinkedIn and seek a lot of our candidates through that process. And we try to post a lot of our positions via LinkedIn as well.
Anyone else?
And we're not. Honestly, it goes back to the state issue. It's kind of a laborious system, but that doesn't mean don't have a LinkedIn profile. If I could summarize how the industry views LinkedIn, it's almost like the professional version of Facebook. So you want to put your professional things, not that you don't want to put professional things on Facebook, but I think the industry has kind of recognized LinkedIn as that avenue. Not to say we don't look at it or use it for certain industries, but we don't use it for the actual application process.
As far as Home Depot, like our hourly sales positions and so forth, we do not use it. We do research for our salary position, and just to make you guys aware, our main office is in Atlanta, so they use it widely, to fill positions out there. I am on LinkedIn, and I get a lot of recruitment on it, even though I'm not even advertising for a position. So it's definitely worth spending time and putting your information out on LinkedIn.
Excellent, thank y'all. All right, next question. What skills should a veteran highlight during the application process that set him or her apart from their civilian counterparts?
I can take that for a moment. Looking at our salaried manager positions, running a store and so forth, we're looking for leadership. And most of the people in the military have some form of leadership. So talk about your leadership skills, what you've done, how many people you supervised, and so forth. Because that's what it is. Being a store manager or an assistant manager in one of our locations, it's all about leadership. You have anywhere from 150, sometimes even up to 375 to 400 associates per location. And we need someone who can lead and direct and still have a great morale. So we're looking for leadership skills.
And I would echo off of that. Not only are you looking for that person that can lead, but you're looking at what leadership skills really, what they really mean. Energy, drive, ambition, all of those other things that tie in. And so regardless if you're coming to our agency and you've had your career and now you want to say, hey, you know what, I want to be a patrol deputy for the rest of my life, that's fine too. But still those unique characteristics of leadership tie into what we're looking in that. So I would certainly say highlight those. Highlight customer service. I think everybody up here would say customer service is vital to us in what we're looking for. So make sure that you're highlighting any awards that you've been given, any type of recognition, any type of special programs that you were part of, and certainly highlight any programs that you were the innovator of. That it shows again that drive, that ambition. We challenge our people all the time to come up with new ideas. I tell them, look, the next great idea for the sheriff's office is not coming out of this head. It's going to come out of one of the 1,500 employees. So the key to it is to challenge them, make sure that they're coming up with new ideas, and then putting them into place. But make sure you highlight all of that for us, because each one of those little things in themselves is what we're looking for.
I'd follow up on that as well, that each job is different. Look at the job posting, what they're asking for. Usually they'll put in there what they're looking for. And then for the military people, for the officers, it's the OER, and for a list of your evaluations. I mean, really pull those aside and really go through those and start looking at them over the years, and you'll start to see a pattern of what you've accomplished. And leadership's right there at the top of it. I don't know about I haven't seen an Air Force evaluation or others, but in the Coast Guard we had a pretty extensive. It's about a 6-page enlisted form you had to fill out that covered about 22 aspects, I believe. About 22, Chief? 27. So 27 areas that you were evaluated on, from a 1 to a 7. That listed very specifically what you were expected to do. On the officer side, the officer evaluation report, which basically you had to write an encyclopedia every year of things that you had to do on the same 27 kind of output. So for your resume, really pull those out and put those in a stack and start looking at them. I think you'll be able to pull out what really matters and what really comes to life with your past performance.
So in addition to leadership and customer service, Lockheed also, we take a look at teamwork, emphasize the teamwork, the team player aspects of it. Also, just as Jim pointed out, on our requisition, you'll see, I think it's called qualified or qualifications, and then there's desired skills. So qualified skills, desired skills. And then the qualified skills, that's like the required area. So align your skill sets to those buzzwords that are called out in that requisition. So when the system looks at your resume, it's going to look for those buzzwords, and that's what the recruiters will sort on. And then even to knock it out of the park, then there's the desired skills. So align your skills to what the requisition's calling out as those desired skills.
I have just one other thing to say. From an application standpoint, if there's a position out there that you have never done before, or you may say, oh, I'm not sure, I don't have experience in that, you'd be surprised at the skills that you have from what you've done in the past apply to those positions. So don't be afraid to apply for a position that you may not have done before. I mean, some of us get very tunnel vision and look at one area. There's so many areas that you would qualify for. We can teach many of the skills that don't require licensure, but if you have those other skills, it's important, and you are actually a viable candidate because of that. So don't shy away from those positions that you're not familiar with.
Just to add real quickly, for like our technical care professional positions, which is our help desk support, it's real important if you add any skill sets such as, or certifications such as A+, network. Those are really key components to that position. And also for our installation specialist, it's not a requirement, but if you have that security clearance, again, that's a really great skill set to go ahead and have highlighted in your resume. I mean, it's definitely beneficial for our home security installation type positions.
Excellent, thank y'all. The next question, I'm going to combine two questions that have been asked. How far in advance of my retirement should I start applying for jobs, and do you hold the actual jobs till the retirement date? So let's say someone goes into, they're going to retire in 2 months. Do you hold the job?
Guys, when did you, so they tell you to go to TAPS, what, 6 months out? Well, they tell you to start 2 years your first time, right? To start getting aligned, and then you go again within 6 months, is that correct? Auto nod?
Yes.
Bueller? Yes. Okay. So I started mine, I went 2 years out, and I can just tell you my own personal experience. And whenever I made a decision to actually retire, when I went to the TAPS class, I realized I had a lot of work to do, and it really starts 2 years out. Don't wait until the day you are retiring and you think you have 2 months of leave saved up and you'll just do it then. Really, it starts 2 years out. And what you have to do is actually you have to start marketing yourself 2 years out. Every industry out there has social clubs, they have industry partners, they have people out in the community, they have just little things that you can start being a part of so that people know who you are. Because as much as we're talking about the resume up here, I'll be bluntly obvious with every one of you, is usually there's a connection to some of the people that get hired because somebody knows them, somebody's worked with them, somebody has a personal kind of interaction with them at some point in their career that said he or she is the person that is right for this job. So start getting out in your communities. Everybody that's locally here knows how much the community supports us, but they don't know you until you get out there. Start volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. Start going to paint houses on Saturdays and Sundays. Start doing some of the food drives. Start doing things out in the community that really help this community. Because believe it or not, a lot of presidents and CEOs of some of these companies, they're doing the same thing because that's how they like doing those things. So starts 2 years out, and then that 6 months, you really need to have a plan. You need to have a plan from A to Z on what you want to do. I was applying for things in 6 months. I was actually interviewing in positions 6 months before I was retiring just to let people know that here's my out date. And they may not say they're holding a position for it. Well, actually, my case was a little bit different. There was a lot of things, but the government shut down right whenever I got out of the Coast Guard, people. So, so all those government jobs that were lined up pretty much took a nosedive because there was no funding. But anyway, people do have long-range plans and visions, all these companies, and they are looking out 6 months ahead, 2 years into the future. So really market yourself, and it starts 2 years out. I mean, really start doing that. I don't want to grandstand here, but everybody says, we've all heard it. Oh, he's retired on active duty, or she's retired on active duty, where they're there, but they're not really doing anything that last 6 months. You need to realize that the military is going to go on without you. And that last 6 months, I mean, really take some time on yourself and look at yourself and not worry about where the Air Force or the Coast Guard or the Navy is going to be, because it's going to keep going on without you. So, just spend some time doing some introspecting and realizing that. So that's all I've got.
Jim is exactly on point. Don't wait till a month before you're getting out and then start looking at what positions are available. You need to get out. For example, with our agency, if you believe law enforcement is the field that you want to go into, regardless of what area you want to go in, start looking at volunteering with that agency. Start looking at doing ride-alongs with our deputies or doing different things within the agency, because it comes back to that connectivity. There's somebody that can stand up and say, this is a good person. I've seen them, and talk to them and everything else. You can come volunteer at our agency. We have over 250 volunteers. We recruit new volunteers just like we do employees. We need volunteers. So come get your foot in that door. We're begging for volunteers at Animal Services to come out and help us with walking the dogs and doing the things that we do out there. But it's getting that connectivity, getting to know, going out and being involved in the different charitable organizations, all of those things. It's that one little connect that might just land you that job, or that opens that door, and then your skill set lands you that job. The one thing that I would say too is, Jim talked about the 6 months. If you don't already have your advanced education of college, go back 2 years, go back 3 years before your retirement, and start putting that on your resume too. You've got to understand that not all jobs require you to have a college degree, but when you're competing against 30 other people that do have it, it's going to shed light on their resume versus on yours. So if you haven't already started on that, if you haven't already completed it, go do it. Everything's virtual now. You can do it online, and just take advantage of that, because that is going to be vital for you. And again, it may not be the qualifier, but it may be the disqualifier that you don't have.
Excellent. Sheriff, I'm going to go ahead and ask this question to you also. It kind of
Miami Dolphins, Florida Gators.
Roger that. But someone's asking for the Sheriff's Department, is there an age limit to hire? And they're specifically asking IT opportunities. And then you were addressing the best way to get your foot in the door for the Sheriff's Department. So you were addressing that. If you could address those other two areas.
Sure. No age requirements, other than 18. But, we have, as I said earlier, we have all different types of positions within the agency. Since we partnered with the port and we have the responsibility for security at the port, we have all sorts of security positions, animal services. You may be at a point in your life where you don't want to go chase bad guys down the street, but there are a lot of other things. IT is a great aspect of that. We just completely, in fact, we are in the stages of it right now, completely revamped our records management system, our jail management system, and our computer-aided dispatch system. Went with an entire new program. A lot of the people that are currently in our IT department are at the point in their careers where they're coming to the end. They are now retiring and moving on. So a lot of opportunities within all of those realms to look at within the agency. And again, don't just look at the star card. Look at the HR positions, the crime prevention, all of the different things, even payroll and accounting. All of those are within our agency that we have.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Okay. What impact does a person's disability have in the hiring decision? Anyone?
I haven't seen one. Now, there's a big range to disability, but obviously, I don't want to speak for Wayne, but if you're required to run and jump fences and you've got a blown out knee, obviously you're not going to be a fit for that position. But my disability thing that I went through with the whole Veterans Administration and all of those things was never asked, and it's never really commented on. There's a lot of HIPAA laws that prevent them from even asking certain things. So, your level of disability, actually for some jobs, if it's government jobs, I think it actually is a notch up. It actually gives you a percentage point higher. So if you're a disabled vet or have a disability, don't let that put you down. Trust me, I think there's probably 3 or 4 people at the port right now that actually have disabilities, but they're great people and they work very well for us. So
I'll jump right off of that. We obviously have a fit for duty standard. I talked earlier about the physical assessment test, but it's really dependent upon that person's specific disability, what it might keep them from passing the PAT. But I'll give you some great examples. We have a young man that works for us right now. He's a deputy sheriff for us. His name is Robert Smith, former Marine. He had his right leg blown off in Fallujah. And I met Robert about 3 years ago, and he told me that he wanted to be a deputy sheriff. He was just for the first time actually walking with his prosthetic, and he told me that his lifelong goal had been to be a deputy sheriff. And I told Robert, if you pass our PAT, I'd be more proud than anything to pin a badge on you. Robert Smith went out and passed our PAT. In fact, he passed it by 1 second. And he is a deputy sheriff for us, flew through the field training program. He is just a tremendous asset. We have another young man that works with us that lost his hand with a hand grenade explosion. He's a deputy sheriff for us. So there's really no set, this disqualifies you. It's really what the position requires and what you can do. We have employees that, we have a young man that works for us that has autism. And we had a niche that we knew he'd be perfect for, and he works for our agency, and his supervisor told me, if you can find 5 more of him, I will take him in a heartbeat. But it's really a lot about finding that position for that person. We work very closely with Bridges, which Bridges does a great job at finding jobs for people with disabilities and stuff. So we're very proud to partner with them and to have the things we have going with our career development team.
As far as Home Depot, we have numerous associates that work with us that have some sort of disability. We mainly look that you're able to perform the main functions of the job. So if you can't, for whatever reason, can't go up and down ladders, you probably wouldn't be a really good fit for a freight team that goes up and down ladders all night long. However, there are so many other positions we can place you into. Just be honest and be upfront. Don't accept the position you can't physically complete. But there's so many other ones, and we also have a program for those candidates that might have some cognitive issues. We have, it's called a store facility support associate. That might need a little bit more help. We also partner with Bridges and ARC and numerous organizations and try to place individuals that need might have a job coach with them and so forth. But yeah, Home Depot is really receptive to having applicants with disabilities.
Excellent. Thank you all. All right, this is for any panel member. Do you use automated resume screening? And if so, do you recommend using the company's online resume builder?
The fact that I had to look at Leon just tells me we probably don't.
I can't speak for the automated Lockheed Martin resume builder. So Lockheed Martin, and if you go to the website, in fact, I got a picture of it here. It's a careers website. Doesn't build resumes, but it goes back to what I said earlier. There's each requisition. So when you go and you see something that you like, you might click on cybersecurity. So you click on it, you read the requisition, you look at the qualifications. There are buzzwords in that qualification. So, and there's certain skills. So when the resume is put in, it is filtered off of those, and then that's how it gets to the recruiter. So I don't want to call that, that doesn't have a lot of human touch, but that's the way the systems in most HR systems work in a large corporation. So, but the other way it works is if I know somebody that from a networking standpoint, I go back to that. That's how I got to Lockheed. I went to an old buddy. I was a retired base civil engineer and support group commander, and I reached out to somebody, and I got into Lockheed. So, and I did build my resume to meet the qualifications that was looking for somebody who had, overseeing of cops and fire department and facilities. Well, that's what a base civil engineer does, right? So I aligned my resume to that, and that's how I got in and got through the system. But at the same time, where I was going, when you know somebody, if I know somebody, I can call the recruiter and get your resume in that way as well.
Okay. Bright House is pretty much the same. We have our company website where we encourage all of our applicants to go through and apply for our positions that we have available. When you click on the job description or the job title, it will outline the description, the requirements of what's needed for that specific position. There is the portal and the tool where you can create your resume online, or you can copy paste it or upload it, whichever format you want to go through. And then from there, that position or that resume profile will go straight to the recruiter that is handling that specific position. So that's the tool that we mainly go and use.
I'm going to touch on that too. Let's back up for a minute. We were talking about skill sets earlier. How many of you feel like your kids are better at technology than you are? Yeah. That's one of those skill sets you need to start working on, because everything you're hearing up here, technology is lending the way. So, if you haven't taken a computer class, or there's all sorts of social media classes out there and everything else that you can go take those. I'm a little bit old school, and, we talked about online resumes and things like that. At some point, as you progress in an interview process or in the process, you're going to go on an interview. And you heard me talk about earlier about presenting yourself. Your resume needs to be packaged accordingly. If you walk in there and you hand everybody, 3 pieces of paper that are stapled together, you probably just missed a great opportunity to impress somebody. Go out to one of the local office supply places, Office Max, Staples, wherever you go. They have actual resume presentation folders. Put it on linen paper, dress it up, make it look nice, and then carry 5 or 6 of them with you that day when you go on the interview, so that as you finish your interview, you can give each and every member of that board a resume for them to look at. Don't give it to them when you first sit down unless they ask for it, because then they're going to be flipping through it and not paying attention to what you're saying during the interview. But it's a great tool to hand them as you're walking out that door, so that they can now look and go, wow, look how professional this person is. Look at this resume. This is pretty nice. You're demonstrating the quality of work that you're capable of producing.
One more on that. And when you do your resume, please make sure that it is updated. I don't know if you all have received resumes that, oh, I worked here too, or oh, I used to work there, or that type of thing. I mean, on the resume, the most recent job should be there so we can see right where you're at initially. If you don't have a lot of work experience, there's so many other things that you can put on a resume. Some people will put on their affiliations, like the sheriff said, and or who you're networking. If you're part of the chamber, if you're part of the Rotary, if you're part of whatever you have done, or what possible clubs that you've belonged to before. It's important to put those things on there as well, and they are looked at. So keep that in mind as well, please.
Excellent, thank you all. This question is for WUESTHOFF and Home Depot. Other than for WUESTHOFF medical or Home Depot sales positions, what other job opportunities do you offer?
Well, let me start. We offer, other than just sales, of course, we have, the basic entry levels, cashier, lot attendant, receiving, you name it. But we also have management positions, assistant managers. Right now I have 9 salaried store managers, and we have 35 assistant managers throughout the 4 counties. And like I said, that's just nine locations. We also, like I had mentioned, have our main headquarters up in Atlanta. I would say there's 5,000-6,000 positions there right now. It's everything from IT, airplane pilots, believe it or not, because we do have our private jets. Accounting, you name it, marketing, it's endless. I mean, if you go onto the Home Depot website, it's endless. There are hundreds and hundreds of different job titles out there that you can apply for.
At WUESTHOFF, the hospitals, the doctor's offices, all of them need IT as well, HR to run. There's marketing, same thing. Some of our positions are like in the accounting office that doesn't require anything medical, business office, patient accounts, operator, PBX, our like food and beverage and our security and housekeeping is a contracted companies handle that, but again, they do work at the hospitals. They're another option that we could steer you towards. Plenty of opportunities other than just in the medical area. Running a hospital takes a little bit of everything, so if you can just think about when you visit a hospital, what you're seeing, that'll give you an idea of what positions are there and available. And our website does list them, and you can pick either administration, clerical, you can pick clinical too. It gives you an option to choose so you can see exactly what is available. Also, our outer offices, we have plenty of doctor's offices too, require front desk, clinical, people check in, check out. So there's plenty of opportunity out there on our website.
Excellent, thank you. This might be for Lockheed or the port. How does having a security clearance affect my job prospects?
Okay, I was going to say it really depends on what position's out there. For the port, every port industry after 9/11 went to what's called a TWIC card, Transportation Worker Identification Criteria. So if you don't qualify for a TWIC badge, which is basically, I would equate it to probably a secret level clearance, you're not going to be able to work on any transportation infrastructure. So you're not going to be able to work at an airport, you're not going to be able to work at, so I don't think too many Air Force people or whatnot would have that problem, but there is a security component to everything we do now, especially when it revolves around any kind of transportation infrastructure. Any kind of goods or servicing moving on trains, planes, automobiles, and the John Candy movie, but any one of those transportation corridors, there is a security aspect to every single one of those that is required. But just because you don't have a security clearance, don't let that discourage you, because you may qualify for it. It's just another pile of paperwork you have to go through during the application process to qualify for that clearance. I'll let you talk about the super secret stuff, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of that.
Sure. So here at the Cape, from the Orion space program to satellites to the Fleet Ballistic Missile Program, majority of those positions require at least a secret. The super secret stuff is working with we do nuclear weapons security and things of that nature. So a lot higher top secret. But But I also want to put a plug in for, there's, I don't remember the number, but there's thousands of Lockheed positions over in Orlando as well, with missile and fire control and simulators, and it's a campus much like Patrick or a military base. So meaning there's cooks, there's receptionists, there's all other types of jobs over there as well that would not require some type of security background. There would be a background check, but it wouldn't require some secret or super secret requirement over there.
Okay, great. Next question. I am over 60 and looking for work. What advice do you have for my job search?
Okay, let me answer that. Home Depot seems to be the stomping grounds for a lot of retirees coming. They've always dreamed of working at the Home Depot, and they love tinkering with things. And I think my one location, the average age there is like 62 right now. We have associates that are in their 80s. The minimum age, of course, is 18 to work at a Home Depot. So we love these associates. They're very knowledgeable. They have great customer service skills. They have patience. We are a retirement community, as you all know. We have a lot of retirees that have a lot of time on their hands that come to the Home Depot just to socialize, and these associates love to socialize back with them. So it's a big old happy meeting there. So we love it. Just come to the Home Depot.
I would say, first of all, apply at the port. You at least get a free lunch out of that. It's still bothering me. You can tell that, right? Again, it comes down to that position alignment. What you really want to do. Are you in the IT field? Are you in a field that works in the clerical area? Any of those things. For us, the sworn positions all require the PAT, but we have a number of employees with us that are over 60 that do tremendous work for us and bring an incredible value to our agency of wisdom, knowledge, and experience. So it's always an open door.
Yeah, and not directly for the port, but the cruise line agencies do the same exact thing. They have a lot of older men and women that work for them in the hospitality industry, just getting people through the cruise terminals and onto the ships. But then they also have individuals that take cruises specifically to give feedback back to upper level management. As with every kind of industry, they want to know exactly what the customer is experiencing. And for companies like Royal Caribbean and Carnival and Disney and whatnot, they will actually put people on cruises. And that's actually your job, to cruise around the world. No, not really around the world, but I mean just to evaluate and give them feedback. And I know you're going to ask me, how do I get into that? As soon as I find out, I'll let you know. No, but actually on their websites, they'll list those positions. They will list them on their individual. It's not through the port, so please don't contact the port and ask me how to get on a cruise with Royal Caribbean. There's each one of their websites in their industries actually have positions like that out there. So.
Excellent, thank you. Now, some of you have already addressed this, but in case you haven't, how does your company support the community through volunteerism, corporate philosophy, individual efforts, company groups, specific partnerships?
Let me go ahead and answer that. Home Depot is really about working with the Home Depot. We have a team called the Team Depot, where we get, in fact, last half of the year in 2014, just our area spent $86,000 giving back to the veterans. That's our main focus right now, rebuilding homes to veterans that have been injured in the war and so forth. So we've worked with numerous organizations, from Habitat Humana to several other ones, AVETS I think it is called. So numerous. We've gone to Rockledge, and it was the apartment complex where we redid, like I think it was 6 full apartments for homeless vets. So hugely into the community.
Our agency is heavily involved in just so many of the charitable organizations. In fact, in the past 2 years, we've helped all of the different organizations in Brevard County raise over $2.3 million that we've been actively involved in, whether it's from sending volunteers to help with those to actually giving auction items. We put in a lot of different things for the charities where we give them an auction item. They can do the SWAT experience. Somebody bids on it, they give the money to the charity, and then they come out and experience what our SWAT team does. We do a day with the sheriff to try and build money for these different organizations. We do a canine experience where you can bid on it. If you win it, you get to train with our canine team. You even get to wear the bite suit so the dog can bite you, which I don't know why anybody would pay for that. But we do as much as we can. We just did a great partnership with Habitat for Humanity, our animal care center. In 2 days, we did a complete makeover of the animal care center that was from that partnership with Habitat for Humanity. So we not only encourage people to volunteer with us. As you heard me say earlier, we have about 250 current volunteers that range from anything to community observer patrols, to chaplains in our jail, to people that walk dogs at our facility and help us with our animal care centers, people that help with clerical. We not only encourage people to volunteer with us, but we try and volunteer and give back to the different charities that are out there as well.
At Bright House, as I mentioned earlier, we're very much involved in the community and participate in many of the events. We participate in the MS Walk, AIDS Foundation Walk, Cancer, Alzheimer's, and also in addition to that, we like to encourage our employees to participate in any of the foundations or events that we are a part of by paying them a full day's salary to go and help out with any of those foundations or any of those events, or a half a day's pay to do a half a day's participation in any of those events. And we encourage them to do that at least once or twice a year to become part of that community events that we like to do. So.
Same with Lockheed. I know Joe sitting in the back probably has a long list, more than I can think of to the top of my head. But what comes to mind is a lot of my employees are out with the elementary schools and the STEM program, and working with the young kids on engineering or chemistry. Or in fact, in Florida Today, there was an article about Captain Orion. He's a local guy that works for us in Lockheed, and he's out amongst the kids in those schools. I know that some of the guys that are with me do St. Baldrick's right now. That's the big push right at the moment, is St. Baldrick's, and then raising money for that event. And I could probably go on and on, but there's a long list.
Yeah, same thing with the port. We run into a little bit of an issue with the state agency subdivision of the state. There's a clause where it has to meet a public purpose or a public need, which sometimes that can be blurry, especially when you're trying to convince our financial department on why we should or shouldn't make a contribution to something. We do a lot with the United Way. We do a lot of environmental things around the port. The port is actually one of the most pristine environmental in the state. We've actually won awards, but we're not really good at marketing that, and everybody know. I think there's like an underlying out in the community that the port is the cause of the Banana Lagoon issue, Banana River Lagoon, but it actually has nothing to do with us. But there's just a tremendous amount of things I think that every agency has to do to stay relevant in their community, and I think every one of these agencies up here actually are part of that. And really giving back to the community, I think, is really important. And I think that kind of stems back to what I had said earlier, is if you're not involved in your community and going out to some of these things, any of these things, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, because I think every one of these companies up here said it, we're part of the community. And we focus on that. And we're out at a lot of these events after hours and on weekends, doing the fun runs, doing the beach cleanups, doing different things, and that's a great opportunity for you to just meet somebody and walk along the beach and talk with them. I met John Walsh, the CEO of the port, cleaning the beach. I just went for a beach cleanup with the Propeller Club, and he and I walked along and picked up pretty dirty things on Cape Canaveral Beach. Y'all need to increase some patrols out there. No. But that was a great opportunity to really. Those are the kind of the things that you don't know what's out there until you start getting out there and marketing yourself. And I think, going back to that, for military people, I think it's hard because you've gotten drilled into your head to support the mission. You need to focus on the missions yourself now, and really start looking out and how to market yourself as you move ahead.
I'm going to just echo that too. get out and get involved in the community. It's not only about making contacts, it's about giving back to your community. This is your community. Get out and get involved in it. There's a lot of fun stuff out there. Look at the community events calendars that are out there. Almost every weekend there is some type of either charitable event or awareness event that's going on. I'm gonna throw a plug out there for one, and I'm gonna have to ask Lindsay what the date of it is. But come out, walk a mile in her shoes. What's the date of that, Lindsay? If I can do this, you can do this. It's going to be at the Melbourne Civic Center. It's called Walk a Mile in Her Shoes. It's an awareness campaign for domestic violence. And I'm going to be walking a mile in a pair of giant red high-heeled shoes. So if I can do it, you can do it. So come out. It's great. There's going to be a lot of community-involved people there. It's for a great cause. What's the date of it, Lindsay? April 30th. Go online. It's already up. It's a benefit for Serene Harbor and domestic violence. But come out and do it. Go on the cancer walks. Go on any of them that are going to be involved in the community. I know the port does a huge Strides event out there as well.
Much like the rest of these folks, we are very involved too with the community. Our leadership is very, very gung-ho about us being involved as employees. And our employees, United Way is a big thing with our employees. Much like Bright House, we do the cancer walks, the heart walks. We always have teams. We do the health fairs. A lot of our nurses and medical staff volunteer to do those health fairs, and it's their time. You'll see things going on in the community always, and you'll see usually WUESTHOFF's name is attached to it. We're very, very happy to do it, and it's extremely important, like they have said, to remain involved. Again, it's part of your networking, and it also feels good. It feels good. So please get out there and join us.
Awesome. Thank y'all very much. I'm just excited to see the sheriff in high heel shoes for an event, not just normal. Roger that. All right. What is the best way to handle a phone call if the call comes at the wrong time, like a doctor's appointment or a family emergency? Should I ask for the information to call you back or tell you when a good time to call would be?
I would say the best way to handle that is just absolute honesty. Just say to us, if Leon's calling you, say, Corporal Maddox, I apologize, I'm right in the middle of something with my family, or I'm at a doctor's appointment, may I please call you back? That's going to go a long way with us. We understand, in fact, we emphasize family first. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of anybody else. So we're going to be very understanding of that. But just tell us, just say, hey, I'm on vacation. Can I get right back with you? Whatever it is that does it. We'll know by the fact that you're answering the phone and you're going to call us back that you're excited about an opportunity to come to work with us.
Ditto, exactly to what you said. I mean, just be honest with us. Let us know when it's a good time for us to reach back to you, and we're definitely understanding of that. We're very family oriented in Bright House Network, so we're going to appreciate the honesty and reach back to you when it's a good time and it's appropriate to talk.
Same with Lockheed Martin. I've done many interviews. In fact, I've called individuals, and they were, as long as they're courteous. Again, when you're on that end, make sure you're professional. I think that was said before, but it is. And then we'll just work around the schedule. We're the same way here as probably most panels. Our folks up here from different companies is very family focused, very concerned about the quality of life of the individuals as well. So we'll just reschedule when it's appropriate.
Excellent. Thank you all. All right. Next question would be, if you have worked or volunteered for a political party, should you include that on your resume?
Okay, I'm the government guy for the port, so the answer is no. Legally, they can't do anything about that. They can't make you say anything about that. So just don't put it that you're a Republican, because you never know who the first person is reading that, reading that resume. So it's really not. It's not relevant to any job position that you have. Really keep that. I mean, it's really nothing that should be. Then that could be a bullet part. You could put a bullet that says, I was the financial manager for Republican Party so-and-so, or something like that. But don't make that I guess maybe we misunderstood the question as, do you highlight that you're a Republican? At the top is, Jim DUBEA, Republican.
Yeah.
No, just
I didn't misunderstand
but if
it.
you've done work for a campaign or you've done things like that and you're applying for that kind of, that absolutely highlight. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But legally, you cannot, discriminate because of your political party.
Yeah, my question would be, did you work for me? I mean, that's important. No, I agree 100% with Jim. If you're trying to highlight your skill set, then that's one thing, and certainly, again, it goes back to that honesty aspect of it. But if somebody's asking you that question, it's not relevant to the hiring process in any capacity. So. But I see what you're saying. There might be a need that you were a treasurer for an organization that highlights your skill set or something like that. So, yeah, absolutely.
All right, great question. How should military veterans balance the need to self-promote with the desire to emphasize teamwork?
I feel like I'm grandstanding here, guys. Sorry. It goes back to the I and the we. You guys know what you have done, what you singularly have done, and you know what your team has done. Okay, there's a difference. I mean, I haven't been in a lot of interviews, but compared to the panel up here, but after asking certain questions, and part of our process is to find out who at the core this person is. There's not a lot of agencies that want I guys or I girls. That, like I did this, I did that. Look what I did. You need to be able to just to look at the things. Yes, there's things that you do, but what came out of that for the team, and you need to be able to market that for yourself. You say, yes, well, I did this, this, and this, and here's what the team accomplished, and what the overall goal was. So just be able to do that. I think you'll do fine.
You can go into it, and I think they're looking for a specific mechanism to do that. But if you start out your sentence with, I was blessed to be part of a team, or I was blessed to serve as the team leader on a group that did this, this, and this. You've really given your message. You've said what your role was in it, but you're giving credit to the team. I'm a former wrestler, so wrestling is one of those unique sports where it's an individual sport because it's only you and your opponent on the mat, but it's a team sport because at the end of it, all of the scores add up to make the team. So take that approach with it. You had one small part of what that team was, and tell them that. Share with them what your role was, but make sure that you just echo what the team did and the success of that they had.
Excellent, thank you all. All right, next question. I'm working on my resume, and it is 4.5 pages long. Is this too long? And by that comment, I think that.
Yes, definitely.
What is the best recommendation?
Hang on, can I answer that real quick?
Yes, sir.
Everybody turn and look at the face Leon Maddox just made in the back of the room. That's cut it down for us. Let it come in. Give us brevity is the key, but also being thorough and in depth. But there's going to be a chance for you to share all of your experiences as you go through the process. But the main thing is to get that foot in the door and do it professionally with the resume.
All right, is there a style that you prefer, that employers might prefer?
Keep it to 2 pages. Everybody up here, I think that's kind of the industry standard. It's 2 pages, and the process is going to give you the opportunity to really highlight all those things. And trust me, guys, I was there 2.5 years ago writing my resume, and I had 4 or 5 pages of stuff, and it just keep whittling it down to where you really have your core competencies on those 2 pages and really fit it to the job description. Once you have that, every job description you may have to. I kept the 4-page one. I kept the 5-page one. I kept, I still have a history of those, but then I really went down and started listing all the core competencies that kept coming up. And every one of you have that in your OERs and your evaluations. You all have those core competencies. Every one of those job listings are going to have that core competency that you're going to have to hit on. And it's easy to be able to just pull that bullet out and put it into a new resume and delete another one, or just cut that one out. So, but really 2 pages is pretty much the max. After that, it's just bloviating, right?
Okay.
Absolutely. As a recruiter and you're receiving hundreds of resumes, I mean, if you can just put yourself in those shoes, if you're looking and reviewing all these resumes and there's 4-page resumes for each one, it's really time consuming and you can get lost in that shuffle. So it's just best to be very relevant, target your resume to the position that you are applying for. Refrain from the acronyms. I know in the military there's a lot of acronyms, and just try to refrain from that and really be specific, or at least identify what those acronyms are so that it can be helpful to the recruiter or the hiring manager, reviewing your resume, and they can get a better understanding of what the job that you're applying for so that it transitions into the civilian world.
So one of the things I look for also is everybody's written an EPR, an OPR, or something like that, or a declaration. And when they used to come across my desk at one time, and I take this approach to the resume, you'd read it and I'd kick it back because it's so what, right? So you gave me some information. Johnny shows up and does his job. And so what? Sell yourself again. Sell yourself to where tell what the situation was and tell what your actions are, and then heavily hit the results. And when you do that, you're probably going to go down to about 2 pages. I'll throw the cog in there for the engineering perspective. Sometimes I do see 3 pages, so don't try to fit everything if you can if it's something for the engineering. But 2 is typically the norm, and remove all that fluff, the so what stuff, and make it an impact with tell people what the results, numbers, things like that, actions with results.
It's okay to have more than one resume. If you have a resume that lists several different things that you're skilled in, it may be just overwhelming. So it's always a good idea to have maybe 1 or 2 to kind of pinpoint, like they say, towards those special skills. If you're good in one area and you're listing those, just list those skills, and then have another one on board for another specific position. It's okay to do that. It's not. I think it works because it lets you show exactly what you're looking for, like it targets that total exact position that you want. So go have more than one. It's okay.
Excellent. Thank you all. Next question. I understand the value of knowing people. What advice would you give to someone new to the area and not real well connected, but extremely qualified and capable?
Again, it's going out networking. We've given you lots of suggestions on going out into the community, volunteering. You'd be surprised who you will meet out there. I know as far as myself, I'm always in the community doing something, so are my store managers. And we love to see, the civilian personnel that's not in Home Depot, or even the military personnel there. And we love to make those connections. And, a lot of times we do find people that are looking to be recruited. And hey, if they're out there volunteering their time and great personalities, absolutely we'll pull up your application and take a look at it.
Yeah. And get out in the community. I mean, really get out there, do your homework. All these companies, they're out there. You just heard it. We're out there. Get on our websites, look and see what we're doing. Get on our Facebook pages. A lot of that, you just do some research and find out the company that you want to work for. I'm sure everybody here has an idea. I want to go in this area. I want to go in that field. Do some research on that field in the local community and find out what they do. You may find out they have a meeting at Fish Lips or something every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Or, believe it or not, there's all those little things like that happen at a social network. So, I just use that as an example, but there's tons of things out there, all these community events, and it takes a little research on your time and on your part, but once you start doing that, you'll get in and you'll start realizing, especially within this community, and Joe Mayer back there, it's about the same 100 to 200 people that go to everything. Your Chamber of Commerce events, your local events, your community things. It's kind of the same core group, and we all know each other and interact in some way where there's kind of like that 1 degree of separation within Brevard County. So you really have to get out and market yourself more than just throwing a resume. And let me just say this real fast. Don't just send a resume to somebody and say, give me a job. Please don't do that. I've actually had people do that where they just, they send me their resume in an email, and it's not attached to any position or anything. They just want a job. Don't do that. That's not the way to do it, guys. Okay, and girls.
I agree with exactly what Jim said as far as don't just send a resume in, but not everybody can go out and volunteer. Maybe you're a single parent and you're working 2 jobs and you're trying to find another job that's going to give you the advantage of only working one. Maybe you have some other thing that you're already involved in that really takes up a lot of your time. If that's the case, if that's the standard that you're with, my recommendation is try and make an appointment to go down and talk to a recruiter. Try and make an appointment to go down and meet a member of our career development unit or whichever of these great agencies or organizations you're interested in. But go in, that in-person meeting may just be the thing that changes the dynamic of the outcome. And that may be that you think you're wanting one job and you go in and you meet with Leon or Angel or any of our staff and they say, hey, you know what, I don't know that you would necessarily meet that, but here's another job we have. So that in-face meeting, and most everybody will schedule that time for you. Go in and approach it that way. That, to me, that shows ambition, it shows drive, it shows desire to work for our organization, and it means a lot to us. So that's just an alternate path to take.
And Woodstock, we have a huge volunteer base. A lot of our volunteers do become employees with us. They'll come in and they'll ask to volunteer maybe a certain area, for instance, human resources, and they work out so well that an opportunity comes up and we hire them because we can see their work. They show up on time. It actually gives them an opportunity to see if they like that area. So if you want to try that route, our volunteer coordinator is an awesome person. She does a great job. At both hospitals, there's a lot of opportunity to get your foot in the door and meet people. People recognize you as you're volunteering and know and see your skill set. And many a times it'll turn into a full-time job for you. So that's just another option.
Thank you. With online application, does it help to submit a cover letter or letter of recommendations?
I'll speak for Home Depot. When you're putting in an online application, there is no opportunity to put a cover letter in. Now, if you're applying for a salaried position where you have to submit your resume, then yes, absolutely.
Same thing with the port. Go ahead and send that cover letter, because that cover letter is your opportunity to give an overview of who you are and some of the things that you've accomplished that make you part of that. And as far as references, they'll ask for references later during the first one. I don't know, some industries may ask, but it'll say in the actual job listing or requisition, include references. But usually the last little bullet on a resume is, references available upon request. And just have that ready to go, because they may say during the first interview or the phone call interview, can you forward me your list of references? So not the first one, I don't think.
Sometimes I've been to the point where the cover letter, thank goodness it was there, because it helped separate the competition, and so that was a differentiator. It helped the interviewers understand some of the technical aspects of maybe that person's resume. And same thing, ditto what Jim said, is references usually are filled out during the application, so just put references are available upon request.
I agree. When you apply through our website as well, it gives you the opportunity to include the cover letter and, again, summarize your qualifications or what skill sets are pertinent to that position that you're applying for. I definitely feel that does set you apart from, the many hundreds of resumes that we receive and we have to, review through. So it definitely eases the process for you.
Excellent, thank you. We're going to have a couple more questions. What advice would any of you give to a recent grad with no experience in the field when building the resume? The only thing they can offer, they can put on the resume, is the course names. Should they include the course topics? So a recent grad, no experience.
So right now, I'm actually going through a lot of intern checks as we're looking for a lot of recent grads or those that are getting ready to graduate. And the course titles, at least from an engineering perspective, doesn't help us. What we're looking for is, what have they done? And in fact, we've already hit a lot of them. I look at, again, teamwork, community involvement, Even if somebody, I'll pick on one that I just remember, was a civil engineer that was applying in robotics and the enthusiasm, and the results and what they did and what they contributed to the team. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the characteristics of those individuals from, as they're graduating from college or even high school. It's basically on characteristics, but not the courses that they took. Because we already know, at least on the Lockheed side, we already know what makes up accounting or makes up that particular engineering skill.
Yeah, I would echo that. The internship programs, we have an internship program at the port. It's actually out on our website right now where we're soliciting for interns. And we've got a history, and most big corporations do have a history of whenever you have interns that come in, and believe it or not, the interns usually, when they show up, they usually shine in a very particular area where we start realizing we need help and realizing that he or she is the person for that job. And at least 2 times since I've been there in 2 years, we've hired interns. We've given them follow-on positions at the port, and just because they showed up, we realized that wow, this guy knows how to tweet. But I think a lot of corporations do have that internship program, and yeah, you don't have to list what your course went through. If you have a bachelor's degree in underwater basket weaving, yeah, no, in anything, most of us know what the criteria are to meet that. But again, then you should focus more on your GPA, any extracurricular activities you had, and then some of your core competencies or summer jobs or anything like that.
All right, thank you very much. This will be our last, or this is our last question for the day, and we appreciate your time. And I'm going to turn it over to Steve real fast.
Take the microphone from here. Okay. Hey, great session. We are just about time. There are some of the questions I know that you submitted that you didn't get answered. Hopefully that at least through the discussion of our panelists that you got a lot of the information that you needed. If any of the panelists afterward can stick around for a few minutes if there may be a particular question that somebody has. I do want to give a pitch though, because this question got asked a lot with regard to networking. A great organization right here in our area is called Brevard. And the reason I say that is because you can be a part of that organization just by, it's a minimal annual fee. It's a history of being in this county for over 30 years. There's people from every part of business owners, leaders, executives, county folks, everybody that's part of this thing. Monthly networking events in the evenings and in the mornings, leadership talks, all kinds of things. So if you want to put yourself out there, and there was great words about marketing yourself, go out there and get involved. And probably one of the best ways to market yourself is get involved with an organization, and don't get from the organization, give to the organization, right? Because that really shows what type of a team player you are. So definitely do that. And as a hiring manager myself over several years, this great discussion here with regard to marketing yourself, this is your life. Right? It's not our lives as the people that are in the hiring managers. It's your life. You're the one that's responsible for it. So take the responsibility for it, and don't just go through the throes of throwing out a bunch of resumes and hoping somebody will hire you. Channel where you're going to go. Look at your talents. Look at your passions. Focus in on the things that you could go do, and then begin to target people inside of those types of organizations. We talked about LinkedIn. And although a lot of companies don't use LinkedIn to go out and look, one of the best ways to use LinkedIn is to get onto LinkedIn, join groups that you know that you have skills or talents in, connect with members of those groups, or connect with people that are in charge of organizations, and then begin just to touch base with them and give to them. Maybe you go out and you read an article and you say, hey, by the way, Steve, here's an article I read on leadership. Here's an article I read on teamwork, very interesting. So now you're sharing with somebody that you want to connect with, as opposed to just asking for stuff from that individual. Now you're going to come to their mind more often, right? The other thing I would say is do the right amount of work when you're looking for a job. Know in detail what the job descriptions are. Know in detail about the company or the organization that you want to join. And the other thing is there's nothing better than getting your resume on paper, on the desk of the hiring manager, and not in the recruiting system. And there's ways to do that by networking with people, giving back, joining organizations, so that when somebody has a job, I get a resume on my desk from a note from an individual that's already in our company that says, hey, this is a person that meets all these skills, maybe doesn't quite have everything we want, but a real team player, definitely an individual that can contribute to value to our organization. Let's pull them in and look at them. Right? So great stuff. I'm going to turn it back over to the moderator, and we'll have Sergeant Lindley close us out.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, give it to the boss. Well, anyway, I'd like to take this time to thank the 45th Space Wing and the Airmen and Family Readiness Center for setting this up. And I really want to give an applause, if we could, for the panelists. These guys took time out of their day for people like us, the military folks, our veterans, and that shows that they care about us. They want us to be a part of them, and so we really, really appreciate that. I'd also like to take this time to thank Career Source Brevard. Crystal Post is somewhere running around here. There you go. And Raul Santana over there. I'd like to thank Lead Brevard team members Clay Archie, Joe Beardall, David German, Sharice Gladden, Joe Mayer, Jill Mims, Steve Owens, and Dan Perron. And there will be a presentation of certificates to members by Steve. Do you want to do that now? Okay. Yes.
So yeah, again, we'd really like to thank the panelists for taking the time out of their day to come and share with you great information with regard to those of you who are out there seeking either employment coming out of military transitioning or just seeking something new to do. So we hope you've learned a lot from this. We would like to come on out here and give this certificate to this shortly retiring guy. Shortly retiring guy, Sergeant Lindley. I've had the pleasure of partnering with Sergeant Lindley. He's a member of the John Maxwell team, which is a leadership training organization. We've got the opportunity to partner together and do some great things. So thank you very much for doing that. If you don't mind, we're going to step right here and she's going to get a picture of you. Thanks for moderating. We really appreciate it. And Doug, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate you taking your time and contributing to the project. Brighthouse Networks, thank you for being here. We really appreciate Brighthouse not only being here, but providing all the tools. Great stuff. Great. I really appreciate it. Mr. Mayor at the state or something? We just started rolling. Sorry about that. So thank you again. Okay. Heidi, Home Depot, the place the old guys hang out and just. Thank you. I remember the very first time Home Depot opened their store in Merritt Island, and I went with my wife, and I walked in, and a guy right in the front, he agreed, said, "Hey, can I help you?" And I said, "No, I'm not here to buy anything. I'm just here to window shop." Just like my wife does. Finally got a man's store. No, it's a woman's store. Jim, thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it. And last but not least, the Dallas Cowboy fans. Sorry. Sheriff Ivey, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank y'all very much. Thank you for the great questions. There will be a survey. If you wouldn't mind filling that out, that would be great. And this is the conclusion of Employment 101. Thank y'all.
And if you did not get any, please, drinks and pizza still left. Take some with you, please.